Mr. Marty coming back at you live and direct. Wanted to talk about the Lane Kiffin situation. I've been watching a lot of college football. We're scanning. I don't really watch, but scanning a lot of college football through the various outlets I use, kind of keeping up with everything and preparing for the, of course, scripted college football championship. So we got a couple of teams we were looking at moving into this, and I really thought Ole Miss had a chance because we had so much of the script kind of surrounding Lane Kiffin. And we're not going to take Ole Miss out, but there are a lot of moving parts now with that program. So of course you got to look at Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, Alabama, and then a couple of teams they keep trying to sprinkle in like Texas. They're trying to get the Manning boy in, and definitely something to look at. He's lost to Ohio State. He's lost to Georgia. So let's see if they try to inject him into this college football championship, which is a possibility. So just definitely something that we want to pay attention to. So we have Lane Kiffin here, who of course was coaching Ole Miss. A lot of the script was surrounding him. What he's going to do? Is he going to stay? Is he going to leave? Kind of fueling the Ole Miss story, and of course he decides to leave. And the problem with the NCAA is they don't do things in the off season. They don't really have an off season. So in the NFL, for the most part, the off season is after the Super Bowl. After the Super Bowl is over, then front office moves are made, coaches are fired. The whole process starts during that off season. But in college football, they want to start the off season before the season even is over. So pretty much after that last rivalry weekend, then they pretty much are calling that the end of the season, and then they try to roll into an off season, but you still got the college football playoff going on. You still got 12 teams in this playoff. So your season is not over. So very dumb management by the NCAA puts people in bad predicaments where they have to make decisions prior to certain situations. So Kiffin had to make a decision to take the LSU job and leave Ole Miss, although he wanted to coach. But at the same time, as people said, if he did want to be in the college football playoff, he would have stayed at Ole Miss. But here's the issue that I had. Why would you have the potential to play in a college football playoff and then turn around and decide that prior to the opportunity to play for a national championship, you're gonna roll out? You rather roll out, and it is what it is, and then leave the school in limbo because, of course, if he leaves, he's going to want to take some staff, and they will have to leave and kind of leave those players in limbo, not really giving a damn about the players and if they're successful, and giving them the opportunity to go out there and play to be national champions. Now, Kiffin's has won titles before with USC. I think he won a title with Alabama. So he's won titles before. But this is typical Lane Kiffin, where he kind of bounces from one spot to the next spot to the next. And he had put together a good thing for himself at Ole Miss. And, you want to see it through. Can I coach a national championship team instead of running LSU? And if I'm LSU, I'm not trusting this guy, because what happens when things don't go the way that they need to go? Does he up and dip on us? But my reason for this video is when we talk about the rigging and staging and these scripted outcomes, Lane Kiffin is the type of guy who just demonstrated that it's not real. Because why would you leave prior to playing to become a champion if becoming a champion was so serious? Think about what's going on. He's going to LSU to do what? Does he take being a champion seriously? Because he's not demonstrating it here. Does it really matter? Or does he simply know who's going to be in the college championship and who's going to be the champion? So why waste my time? So even for the script, Lane Kiffin is dangerous for the script because of how he's leaving now. Hopefully that opens the eye of people that these guys don't even take this seriously. So why are you getting your blood pressure up? And that's how you gotta watch sports. If the person who is put in the position of so-called coach doesn't take it seriously, then it's not anything to fret over. It's not a big deal because he's leaving before the so-called ability to play for a championship is proven, meaning that those teams in the championship have already been selected, and he already knew Ole Miss wasn't going to be one of those teams because he didn't stick around. He already knew he wasn't going to be allowed to win a title with Ole Miss. That's why he didn't stick around. And I always tell people there have been players that have not been permitted to win titles. There have been teams that, hey, it's like the Atlanta Falcons. They don't let the Atlanta Falcons win championships. Think about what they did to Atlanta with the 25-point comeback when Atlanta could have just easily won that Super Bowl. But there are teams that they treat this way, and they put certain people on the medal and certain teams on the medal. And look at the Auburn game this weekend where they had the chance to tie, and the kid just hands the ball over to Alabama, making Alabama be who they want them to be. So it's all staged and rigged. They already know the outcomes. Lane Kiffin is just demonstrating that I ain't going to win the national championship anyway, so why am I going to stick around? Made a couple of lame excuses. Well, I was trying to play. If you were trying to play, you wouldn't have went nowhere. So it wasn't about that. He knew he wasn't going to win anything with Ole Miss. He knew they weren't going to allow Ole Miss to become national champions. So why waste my time? I'll just go to the next team, and maybe they'll give him a national championship with LSU. I mean, a championship is coming for Lane Kiffin at one of these schools, but it was not going to be at Ole Miss, because if it was, and if they would have told him it was, he would have stuck around. But possibility that they could play and get there, who knows? But he's going to take a lot of his staff with him. Some is going to stick around, some is not. And the situation is kind of left those kids in limbo. But this is the nature of sports. This is the nature of sports where the fans put everything in it, but the people who are in the backstage area doing the production don't really give a damn. So, you're putting everything in it for nothing. So Lane Kiffin, perfect example of stage and rig sports, where he exits stage right before he gets a chance to be in a movie that might get him an Oscar. Stuff like that. So Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss 29. Go to Ole Miss. 29. He's going to LSU, which is also 29. So definitely chosen to move from one school to another. Ole Miss, LSU. Kiffin is 37 to 12 prime. And he made his move yesterday. So remember that 37 to 12 prime. So he made this move on 11:30. Go back to 11:30. Sunday the 30th. So that was the day with 86, 50, 31 numerology, 14, 66, and 12 as far as numerology. Go back to our calculator. Pull up Lane Kiffin, lane 5157. It's going to the LSU Tigers, which is 40 and 59. And he's currently at the Ole Miss Rebels, which is 54 and 81. So Kiffin 87, 57, 54, 81. Look at the wiki for Mr. Lane Kiffin. I try to do a little bit of gematria always time. So right now Lane is 50. Sad thing about Lane, he is a Taurus. So Taurus, you know, we can be very unpredictable people. So, you know, 1 minute this way, the next minute that way. So definitely a part of the personality and character. A lot of your famous people are Taurians. But we are very loyal people. So very strange why he would just get up and leave like that. We're very loyal people. We're not the type to just take off. But, you know, this is Lane Kiffin. He struggles with this loyalty piece, or struggle to kind of find himself or create his own foundation. So, you know, that's the scary part. Our Lane is 50 right now. And as we say, yesterday was a day with 50. Go back to yesterday. So yesterday was a day with 50 date numerology. So the numerology was right for Lane to make this move on a day with 50 date numerology. Okay. So not a coincidence that, you know, this pick. And like I say, watching down the road, will Lane Kiffin win a national championship? May 9th, he makes this decision. We'll look at that one last part. Go to twos and date. But like I said, we are expecting Lane to win a title with playing musical chairs. Sooner or later, he'll win a title. So before we'll go after his birthday, 2025. Yesterday, made this decision. So 205 days before his birthday, he makes this decision. And 205 is not prime weeks. 29 weeks. So he makes this decision 29 weeks. And six months and 3 weeks before his birthday. But 6 months, 3 weeks. And then 29 weeks before his birthday. And remember, both those 29s, LSU was 29 and Ole Miss was 29. So LSU 29 pretty much solidified him going to LSU. Both teams was 29, so if you bet on where he was going to go, you would have had a tough time figuring out. But that's the story of Lane Kiffin, pretty much showing how phony sports are, even college sports. The corruption has slid down to that level. It's been there for a while.